9 years ago, when I was still working on my PhD, I made a revolutionary discovery in terms of relationships, and I discovered that you didn't need a girl to go out to have fun. And it's kind of stupid. I call that a revolutionary discovery because before then I never realized it. I was 23 years old, and I had just broken up with a girl who was kind of taking advantage of me. And I had a hard time leaving her because when I was with her, everything went by the wayside. And she was the last thing that I still had. And I got to put had in quotation marks because I really didn't have anything in that relationship. But it was the last thing that was still with me. And I had to get rid of her. And I was scared for my life. And I became very depressed. I almost dropped out of school. And I lost a lot of weight, if I remember correctly. And I just thought life as I knew it was over. I wanted to drop out of the PhD program and just cry. And a week later, while I was still trying to catch up on everything, I was on the verge of being kicked out of the PhD program for sure at that point. And I noticed that there was a coin show in the Rochester area. And I don't know why I decided to go to that coin show. I didn't have a girl to go there with me. And the only life I knew was one with a girl, even if she was taking advantage of me, just to have her around me and so people can marvel that I'm in a relationship. I don't know why. I kind of got addicted to that, pattern, if you will. And somehow I went to that coin show. I don't know if there was a higher power that dragged me to that coin show. At the time, I don't know what happened to my car. I did have a car at the time, but I took my bicycle to the coin show. I don't know if the car was needing some repair and I was putting it off or something like that because I was kind of broke at the time. That was probably the case. But I took the bicycle to the coin show, and I cannot remember how I powered myself to the coin show. I kind of remember that morning because it was very sunny. I got to the coin show and I realized, oh my god, this is, I'm having the best time of my life even without that girl. I think part of the reason I had such a good time is that I kind of gave up on life. And I thought that coin show would be the last coin show I ever went to before, I just kind of wasted away, if you will. That's the mentality I had around that time. I was very depressed. A couple weeks before that, I had almost taken my own life, actually. So it was one of those let's do one last coin show kind of mentality, if you will. When I went to the coin show, I had the best time of my life, and it was around that time I decided to turn it around, and I completed my PhD program. And it was a revolutionary discovery. Sometimes I joke that the concept of you don't need a girl to go out to have fun, I joke that it's like my other PhD thesis sometimes when I talk about it. Because it was a really revolutionary discovery. A year and a half after that, my grandpa had passed away. I was living alone in Rochester. My parents were in Pittsburgh. It's a good 5 or 6 hours drive away, and I really didn't have time to go home to my family. And I didn't have a girl to cry on, if you will. And like I did a year and a half earlier, I found myself doing something else that I enjoyed. I started writing computer games at the time. I started with Othello, actually, which I didn't enter into the contest this year, the Computer Olympiad contest this year, because I couldn't find some of my opponents I wanted to battle it out with. And so that was good. That was good. Part of the problem is sometimes my ego gets in the way. So I have a girlfriend at the moment, but recently while looking at Facebook, I was opening up a Facebook profile of a friend of mine, and I decided to add her friend onto Facebook, and just I started some random chat with her, what are you studying in school, or I can't remember what I said to her. And her response was to block me on Facebook. And when she did, this window comes up and says, you cannot reply to this conversation. I didn't even like her. I only wanted to kind of network a little bit, but I felt sick to my stomach for all night last night. And then this morning I went out before work this morning, I went out to take a walk on my favorite trail. I had the best time of my life. Sometimes my ego gets in the way sometimes. Another time I had a good time was 3 years ago. I was dating another girl. She was much younger than me. She was still living with her parents. And one day we got into a heated argument because she thought that I was seeing somebody else because I spent so much time writing computer games. And she didn't believe I was writing computer games. She thought I was actually going out to see another girl. And I stormed out of her home. I said, you know what, if that's the way you wanted, maybe I really should go back to my computer games. And I stormed out of her place, and I was a mess because my ego got in the way again. I love my computer games much more than that girl, but the ego got in the way, and so I got lost driving back to I was living in my car at the time, but I had a favorite place to hang out. I got lost looking for that place, and I ended up driving to Ellensburg instead. Can you believe it? Like 2 hours away instead of a drive that should have taken 10-15 minutes. And while I was in Ellensburg, we have very dark skies over there, and I got to see Jupiter and Saturn and part of the Milky Way. This was in late March, so the Milky Way only showed for a little bit. At the beginning, at the end of the night, and the best time of my life. Much better than when I was with the girl, but again, my ego got in the way. I just need to realize that, you know, hey, I'm having so much fun. Sometimes I got to remind myself about the past, because as it's happening, the ego really can get in the way. 2 years ago, I was at another computer game conference, and I went to a nearby town, and I found a girl that I had met a year earlier while traveling there, but I couldn't find her again. This was she worked at a convenience store, and within a few minutes of talking to her, I discovered she was married. I mean, I think she was interested in me, but she was married. We were talking about what her husband did for a living, or something. Somehow the word husband came up, and my heart just sank. And I was hurt for a couple minutes until I went out and took a walk along the Gdansk Bay. You know, I had to take a bus to Gdansk after, but took a walk there, and then I forgot all about it. So I just need to take a step back and realize that there's a lot of fun out there without the girl. And yeah, and you can go on a date without anybody at all. Thanks for watching.